I'm now going to pass it on to the next speaker. The next speaker who we have is also a Prabhupada disciple. And let me just get the information for you guys when he actually met Prabhupada. So he met the devotees in 1968, and he actually took Harinam from Srila Prabhupada in 1971, and then took Diksha the following year in 1972. He then went ahead and took sannyas from Srila Gurudeva in 2008, is now known as Sripad Bhaktivedanta Bhagavata Maharaj. And, Maharaj is someone that I hold very close to my heart. The first time I heard him sing, I was just absolutely blown away. And his voice is absolutely incredible, and he's incredible. And he always makes me laugh and smile, but also simultaneously cry as well whenever I hear him speak. So I'm very excited to have him speak and have him share his stories with Srila Gurudeva. But I'll pass it over to you, Maharaj.
Haribol Vishnu Priya. Dandavad pranams to all the devotees. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayavacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo.
Maharaji, you're just a little bit. You sound a little bit distant. Yeah, can you bring the? We can, but it's just a little bit far.
I'll speak louder.
That's better. Thank you.
Yeah, that's okay. I was in Bhumi put me in this kind of meditative mood. I was meditating on Gurudev, and so I opened up a little soft. So I'll go back to my boisterous self. Don't worry, Vishnu Priya. Yashodhari. No, don't worry. So, 1 second. I'm on the international phone call here. Thank you. Haribol. So, let me just offer my humble obeisances at the lotus feet of my Diksha and Shiksha Guru, his Nitya Lila Pravishtom Vishnu Pada Satara Satasi Simat Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And then I offer my obeisances unto the lotus feet of my Shiksha and Sannyas Guru, Nitya Lila Pravishtom Vishnu Pada Satara Satasi Simat Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Gosvami Maharaj. To Srila Gurudev on his centennial, my most humble obeisances at your lotus feet. I remember reading the letters from Srila Prabhupada to Srila Gurudev, and I remember him, this one particular sentence was very powerful to me. He wrote to Srila Narayana Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada wrote to him, and he said, from the first time that I saw you, I had love for you in my heart, the way my Guru Maharaj had love for me when he saw me the first time. Then he said that it was at that meeting with my Guru Maharaj that I first learned the meaning of love. So the relationship between the two of them began with love and was based on love. And anyone who doesn't see or understand that is very unfortunate, because there was no other purpose or any other reason for Srila Gurudev to make the sacrifices that he made in his senior years of life, except out of love for Srila Prabhupada. Because he had that same love for Srila Prabhupada that Prabhupada had for him. Srila Prabhupada also wrote, he said that amongst all the devotees in Gaudiya Math, I think that you are the best Guru Sevak. Notice Srila Prabhupada made a particular description of Srila Narayana Maharaja's bhakti, that he was the best Guru Sevak. He didn't just say best devotee. He said, amongst all the devotees I've seen, you are the best Guru Sevak. Because as we've heard, I'm sure so many times, I haven't been able to listen to every offering, but I've listened to a bunch of them, and I've heard this repeated, and Bhumipati just said it again in his offering, that Guru Nishta is the backbone of bhakti. And Srila Prabhupada was identifying that particular quality, that ornament that decorated Srila Gurudev. You are the best Guru Sevak in Gaudiya Math. Out of all the Gaudiya Maths, how many Maths there were of his different god brothers? And Srila Prabhupada singled him out as the one who was the best Guru Sevak, the one who had the most Guru Nishta. And what Guru Nishta Gurudev had? So powerful, so deep for his Gurudev, both his Diksha Guru and his Shiksha Guru. The power of his devotion to his gurus was the driving force behind all the things that he accomplished in his life. He translated all of these different books into the Hindi language from Bengali on the order of his Gurudev. And then he supervised the translation of those books from Hindi into English, or from Bengali into English. He gave so many different lectures in the English language and had those books, lectures made into books, and published them. Dedicated to that principle, that very important principle of the mission of distributing the transcendental sound vibration, the transcendental knowledge of the book Bhagavata to the public, the way Srila Prabhupada was dedicated to that. He had that same dedication to publishing the Brihat Madanga, the great books. His conducting the yearly parikrams that he conducted, both in Navadvip and Vrindavan, were a transcendental work of art, how he carried us from one holy place to the other, seeing that we heard all the transcendental pastimes of each one of those places and the importance of those places so that we could associate each one of those impressions on our consciousness when we saw them with the transcendental information about the Leela that took place at those particular places. I remember Srila Bharti Maharaj saying, Parikram is not Parikram unless it is conducted under the guidance of a Pranayi Bhakta. Pranayi means a dear intimate maidservant of Srimati Radhika. Unless the Parikram is conducted under such a personality, you don't really get the benefit of the Parikram. You're just moving about. There's a story about when Srila Saraswati Thakur took out the Parikram in Vrindavan, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj tells the story. He said that one morning, Srila Prabhupada told everybody that he wasn't going to go out on the Parikram that morning. He was going to stay and give a lecture. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj said he went up to Abhay Babu, our Guru Maharaj, our Prabhupada, and he asked him, are you going to stay here and listen to Prabhupada, or are you going to go on Parikram? He said, I'm going to stay here and listen to Prabhupada. He said, what is the use of Parikram without Prabhupada? It's just eye exercise. So it was such a beautiful point. And each one of these Leelas reaffirms what Gurudev taught us about Parikram, how when we go to those holy places and hear the transcendental pastimes that are attached to each holy place and the value, he said, throughout the year, I want you to remember when you're doing your bhajan, when you're chanting your japa, when you're doing, he said, I want you to remember those pastime places and the pastimes at those different places. He said, and you'll be transported there. You'll be transported there. And this will be real bhajan. This will be real bhajan. So Srila Gurudev was always acting out of love. Srila Prabhupada, he brought out that point about his relationship with Srila Gurudev, and Srila Gurudev demonstrated that by the sacrifices he made both for his Diksha Guru and his Shiksha Guru. Srila Gurudev was very elderly when he went to the West to preach in 1996. It was not an easy thing for him to travel for hours and hours all over the world. And when he came to the Western world at the specific time that he arrived, our spiritual life had been thrown into a complete hurricane of confusion. Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj had been coming for about 10 years before that. And for those who were able to surrender to Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj and get within the circle of his association, they were a little bit sheltered from the whirlwind. They were a little bit sheltered from the hurricane, from the storm that struck our devotional processes due to so many misunderstandings about what was the process of bhakti. So when Srila Gurudev came he cast this big light, this brilliant, effulgent light on Srila Prabhupada's teachings. It's not that anything he said was different from what Srila Prabhupada said. It's not that anything he said was something that Prabhupada hadn't already said before. But he said it in such a way and gave us details that illuminated what was already present in Prabhupada's books. I remember reading Prabhupada's books more earnestly again after starting to associate with Gurudeva, and I had read them all. I had read them when I was living with Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj. And now I'm reading them again, and I'm like, oh my God, where did this come from? Where did this concept come from? Where did this idea come from? Because once I had associated again with another pure devotee of his stature, everything was opened up. The vista of transcendental knowledge opened in such a way that it became impossible to miss even the finest details that Srila Prabhupada was presenting in a sentence here or a sentence there in the purport, or even in a single word. How Srila Prabhupada in the first canto, first chapter, 6th verse in the purport says, hearing and explaining the revealed scriptures is more important than reading them. One can assimilate the knowledge of the revealed scriptures only by hearing and explaining. And so I looked at that word assimilate. Why did Prabhupada use that word assimilate? Why did he use that particular word, assimilate? Why didn't he say realize or understand or comprehend, or why assimilate? So I looked up assimilation. What is the real meaning of assimilation in the dictionary? And the meaning of assimilation in the dictionary is to transform food into living tissue. And so then I was understanding that based on that verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 3rd canto, 25th chapter, there's 2 verses, the 25th verse and the 33rd verse. And the 33rd verse says that the process of bhakti dissolves the subtle body. So I started to understand that as we assimilate transcendental knowledge by hearing in the association of the sadhu, as we assimilate that knowledge, the subtle body dissolves and the soul manifests. And so it transforms the transcendental sound. The transcendental sound from food into living tissue, into the soul, into the spiritual personality. And I was realizing how Prabhupada was looking so deep into the conception of the transformation of transcendental sound vibration in the consciousness of the living entity and what was actually going on, that he chose this particular word, assimilation. But I had never noticed it before until I associated with Srila Gurudeva. He was the one who helped cast this light on this word, on this sentence, on this conception. He illuminated Srila Prabhupada's purports because of the brilliance of his deep, loving association. So beautiful. And so this is what we are so fortunate to have received in our lives, associating with the ideal Guru Sevak, amongst all the devotees in Gaudiya Math, you are the best Guru Sevak, Srila Prabhupada said. Seeing this firsthand, experiencing this firsthand, and realizing how dedicated Srila Gurudev was to this conception of serving the gurus, serving the Vaishnavas with the proper consciousness. What is that proper consciousness? The consciousness is to never look at the faults of others and to only look at their good qualities, to never criticize. This is something for me personally that I have to work so hard on in my life, because I have a tendency to have a very critical eye. But at the same time, Srila Gurudev, he used to work on us individually to try and bring us to the platform of love, to bring us to the platform of a loving relationship with each and every Vaishnava, to get us away from our narcissistic tendencies and to get us away from our desires for material name, fame, power, comfort, etc., etc., etc. To get us away from the anarthas, lust, anger, greed, envy, etc. Srila Gurudev was so expert at it. And everything he did was with love. Even when he did the most serious surgery on us, I call it surgery, where he was cutting out an anartha with either sharp words or placing us in a difficult predicament. He did this to me right from the beginning. As soon as he got me a little close, as soon as he got me a little comfortable, he started right in. He didn't wait. I was with Gurudev seriously for about 2 or 3 months, and I went to visit him in South Florida, and I went into the room. He was sitting in the living room, and I went into the living room to see him. Actually, no, this was Houston, not Florida. So I went into the living room to see him, and he's sitting on this big couch, and there's about 50 or 60 devotees sitting on the floor in the room, and they're all sitting in front of Gurudev, and they all look at me as I walk in, and Gurudev turns and he says, "Oh, you've come." He said, "Come over here." He said, "Come sit on the couch next to me." I said, "Gurudev, I can't do that. You're sitting here giving darshan to everybody. How can I?" No, it's fine. I want you to sit right here on the couch next to me. And when he said that, I had a feeling I was in for something. So I get in there and I'm sitting down on the couch next to him. And he's talking about trying to remove our anarthas. And he turns to me and he said, "I want to know something from you. I want to ask you a question. Can you answer me?" So I said, "All right, Srila Gurudev." He said, "If a beautiful woman came in this room now completely naked, what would you do?" And I looked at him and I went, I couldn't even talk. I was stunned. And he said, "I know what you would do. You would have sex with her." I was like, "Gurudev, He wanted to embarrass me. He wanted to embarrass me in front of everyone to remove my lust. He wanted to take it out of my heart. And so he did it by embarrassing me in front of everyone so that I would understand what an ugly, dirty thing lust was. So that I understand what a beautiful thing love was. It was such a powerful, powerful experience for me. Right from the beginning, when I surrendered to him, as soon as he knew he had me, he took out the knife and he started cutting, taking away the anarthas little by little. So powerful, so powerful. But he was taking out the dirt and replacing it with love. He was showing us these things are ugly that you're holding on to. This lust, this anger, this greed, this envy, this pride. These are all very dirty things that you're hanging on to. You're so attached to them. Take them out. I'm going to take them out. If you're not willing to begin taking them out, I'll cut them out. I'll cut them out. And in that hole that I make when I cut it out, I'm going to put love in there. I'm going to put bhakti in there. I'm going to replace the dirty things with pure things. So this is a very amazing thing about Gurudeva, that he was able to give us love by extracting and taking out and by operating on us and taking out all those dirty things from our heart and replacing it with love, loving exchanges, love between him and us, between us and our Guru Maharaj, between us and Krishna and Radharani. He was able to do this in a very special way, in a very deep and intimate way that we never had the opportunity as a bunch of young street ruffians living with Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada didn't have the opportunity to individually work on each of us like this. And so Srila Gurudev took what he received and helped to finish cleaning our hearts. And there's so much more cleaning to do. But the beauty of listening to everyone's heartfelt pushpanjalis these past few days has been amazing. It's been absolutely wonderful that I've been able to see the sincere love and devotion of Srila Gurudev in each and one of the disciples of Srila Gurudev as they are expressing their heartfelt pushpanjali about Srila Gurudev. And so this reminded me of something that I had realized when I first started preaching as a sannyasi, that we have to see our guru in our God brothers and God sisters. That our Guru Maharaj comes to teach us lessons in our God brothers and God sisters. You know, that story about Bhaktisiddhanta when he used to walk, Srila Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada used to walk with his disciples in the morning, and this old man in the village used to yell at him, "You big beast, You're going on and on and on and on. What do you think you are? A big egotist walking with all your disciples. And the disciples wanted to kill the man the way he was criticizing Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. And Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada forbid them. Don't even say anything to him. Leave him alone. And so after some time, the old man died. And when he died, they went to see Srila Saraswati Thakur and tell him, all his disciples were excited. He said, that old man who used to criticize you, he died. And Saraswati Thakur began weeping. He said, he was my Shiksha Guru. Who's going to teach me about humility now? There's no one to teach me about humility now. He saw that man as his guru. And I've been listening to all the beautiful Pushpanjalis of all the wonderful devotees. Bhumipati just spoke so beautifully. And Udara spoke beautifully this morning. And other people that I've been hearing spoke so wonderful. And Yashodhari and Vishnu Priya have been managing and organizing this with such sincerity and devotion and such love. And Yasoda Nandan has been amazing, absolutely amazing. It's just been a wonderful, wonderful experience. And what I'm seeing everywhere is Gurudev's love. And how he's arranged to bring all of us together. And at this particular time, the centennial is being held. There's a very amazing astrological constellation called the Yuga Yoga, which appears like once every 800 years. And it's a special constellation in which a lot of spiritual powers can be developed. And at the same time, there's a lot of ominous evil omens. It's a combination of the best and the worst. And that's what the material world, living in this material world, trying to perform bhakti is about. Making a choice between the material and the spiritual. Prabhupada used to say, is either you choose Maya or you choose Krishna. And during this Yuga Yoga, we're choosing Guru. We're choosing Guru, we're choosing Krishna, we're choosing the best, and we're leaving aside the worst. And we're so fortunate to have that. And that was all given to us by our Gurudev. He gave us that ability to see that, to separate the wheat from the chaff. So I want to thank everyone for the opportunity to say a few words in glorification of Srila Gurudev. And thank you very much for all of your heartfelt Pushpanjalis. Please continue, because my hearing them has been like my food for the past few days and has been purifying my heart to hear everyone's love for Srila Gurudev. Thank you so much. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyas Kripa Sindhu Bhaeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Wow. Maharaj, I don't think I can thank you enough for, such beautiful, beautiful words. And I know I've said this quite a lot recently, but that really, really did touch my heart. And I mean, every single time I hear you speak, you always really do touch my heart, and you always, something goes into my head and something goes into my heart, and I feel that energy for the rest of the week, and it really does impact me. So thank you so much for that, Maharaj. I think everyone else feels the same right now as well, and it's just like, wow. But yeah, Dandavat Pranam, Maharaj. Thank you.
If I've offended anybody here, please forgive me for my offenses. Dandavat Pranam.
Amazing. Okay, I think
Gurudeva ki jai.
Jai.
Gurudeva ki jai.
Jai.
Gurudev Centennial ki jai.
Jai.